going to talk about my 10 favorite songs from Queen. There'll be timestamps and playlists in the description where I've done other videos like this for other bands. So in these top 10 videos, what I do is I listen to all the songs a band puts out, and then I just pick my 10 favorite. They're not like the 10 biggest radio hits or something like that. They're just what I like the best, going through and listening to their whole catalog. So in this video, I don't put the music itself. I'll talk about the song, say what I think is cool, maybe give you some facts about the song, but I will make shorts separately, and in those shorts, I'll put up the music. So you can't have it in this because of copyright issues with some bands, but you can in the shorts, don't really know why. But what I'll do is the day this goes up, for 10 days, one each day, I'll have one of those shorts. Again, there's playlists in the description if you want to see it that way. So first, talk a little bit about Queen. Formed in 1970, consisting of Freddie Mercury on vocals, Sir and Doctor, he's got both of them, Brian May on the guitar, John Deacon on the bass, and Roger Taylor on the drums. Their first album was in 1973, and they made 14 albums through 1991. Unfortunately, in late 1991, Freddie Mercury passed away. There was a 15th album called Made in Heaven, but in terms of like making, new full-on music and albums, that kind of ended when Freddie Mercury died, unfortunately. The band's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a band, but each member wrote music and were songwriters, and they're each individually in the Songwriters Hall of Fame as well. They were the first really huge band to mix a bunch of different styles of music. They initially started very, rock, traditional rock sounding, but they very soon added like progressive elements to their music, theatrical elements to their music, classical music sounding elements, even like some country kind of music sounding stuff, and really blended all that together. And it was a really great mix of music with really great songs written. They have still played, as Queen with different singers. Paul Rodgers, who's most famous for Bad Company, played with them for a little while. And then the longest person has been Adam Lambert, who got initially famous with American Idol. He's a great singer. They both did really good jobs, singing in Queen with the rest of the guys. But Freddie was a once-in-a-lifetime guy. He was, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rock and roll singer ever. And I don't know if he'll ever be replaced. So those other guys do a cool job, and they're cool to see live. But when Freddie died, that was really the end of Queen to a certain extent. Back Chat from Hot Space in 1982. This was a John Deacon written song, and it was a single. It was the last single from that album. Back Chat in England is like an idiom for talking back, is I guess what we would say in America. This song is not the typical sound I think Queen has. There's like a funky disco R&B kind of Nile Rodgers Chic meets David Bowie kind of sound to it. There's clean guitar parts where they're arpeggiating the chords I think sound awesome. There's a cool phaser effect on the guitars that are kind of in the background. It's got one of the most overlooked and underrated guitar solos of any Queen song. There's actually 2 guitar solos. The first one's the best. The second one's pretty cool too. But man, overlooked, underrated song. I don't think a very well-known song from Queen's catalog. Ogre Battle from Queen 2 in 1974. This album is the first time you start to hear more experimental kind of songs. And the songs on this album are mostly about like magical creatures that are battling each other. In this case, there's an org battle going on. This is the first song on the second side of the album. And this song was written by Freddie Mercury on the guitar. It's one of his earliest written songs. It was played a lot in their first 5 tours. It does all the cool things you got to know Queen was doing later on. There's vocal harmonies with the guitar that are really cool. It's a really overlooked heavy song. They don't do a lot of heavy songs, and this is a really cool heavy song that they do that most people, I don't think, know very much about. The album is famous for its cover. It's got a very iconic cover that everybody knows, but most people don't know this album, Queen 2. It's kind of more of a cult kind of sleeper hit today. Wasn't a huge hit for them at the time. Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon from A Night at the Opera in 1975. This album had a ton of hits, and this song wasn't really a hit. It's a very, very short song. It's an album track. If it was longer, it would be higher on my list, and maybe it could have been a hit. It's the second song on the album, and this isn't an album where there's like a lot of short songs, so it's kind of weird that it's on there. When I hear this, as an American, I assume this is the tone and the cadence of every British aristocrat that ever existed and probably exists today even. It's really cool in the main vocal. There's like a megaphone kind of effect. You didn't get that a lot back then, especially for how pretty he's singing. They have this kind of strange effect on it. This song reminds me a lot of a song from The Darkness that's called Dancing on a Friday Night, where they kind of go through all the days, what they're doing. So I don't know if this song was an inspiration for that, but I like to think that it was. Don't Stop Me Now from Jazz in 1978. This was a single, and it kind of had a resurgence because it was used famously in the Shaun of the Dead movie. There's actually a bunch of different versions of the song, and the song that I think most people know is actually not the original version of the song. This song is huge on Spotify. It's one of the most played songs. It has double the amount of plays of any Led Zeppelin song, of any Rolling Stones song. It wasn't a fan of Brian May, at least lyrically. I think musically he's okay with it, but the lyrical content and kind of what it stood for, he didn't like. He's not really in the song a lot either. It's mostly piano. There's a little bit of guitar. It almost has like a Elton John, Billy Joel kind of vibe to it. It wasn't done much live when Freddie Mercury was around, but it did become popular later. And now when they play with Adam Lambert, they play the song pretty much most of the time. It's become a staple in their set. Keep Yourself Alive from their debut album in 1973. This song was written by Brian May, and it was their first single, although initially it didn't really have a lot of success. It did become kind of more of a hit later on for them, so to speak, with the fans. It has like a gallop guitar intro, which I think is really, really cool. There's these little guitar licks that are being played here and there. Usually the drums kind of set up the tempo, but the guitar goes first. Drums kind of come in after the guitar set the tempo, which is, I think, cool. It has maybe one of the simplest kind of overall song structures to any of the songs I'm going to have on the top 10 list. But it has some really cool like mini drum solos in it and a guitar solo that's very harmonized. Usually they do that with the vocals, but they do it on the guitar solo like they would on the vocals. When they did it live, they would often add either like a drum solo or a guitar solo or sometimes both. And those parts are in the song, but they would have them extended live. Hammer to Fall from The World in 1984. This song was a single, and it was written by Brian May. It's got such an awesome hard rock, heavy guitar tone. And this is a time when they weren't really doing songs that had this style and feel to them. It was in the Highlander movie, and I think, unfortunately, it sucks that Freddie Mercury passed, but they did a really cool tribute concert for him in 1992. Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath played guitar. Gary Cherone sang, who's most famous for Extreme. He was in Van Halen for a short time. The amazing guitar tone is really what does it for me. There's a piano hitting in the verse that sounds really cool. There's another great guitar solo. There's a lot of great guitar solos I have on this list. It has a really shreddy start to it. Brian May is known as being more of a melodic player than a shreddy player. He starts very shreddy, gets more melodic. The drums sound huge. Just everybody in this band is doing a great job. I Want It All from 1989 on The Miracle. It was the first single from that album, and it was the first song that they recorded for that album. It's a Brian May written song, and the first time they did it live was after Freddie Mercury passed. They had Tony Iommi play guitar with them, and they have Roger Daltrey of The Who sang it. Pretty cool way to do it for the first time if you're not going to do it with Freddie. There's different versions of the song. The title kind of opening, a lot of people think they know, but when they sing kind of the main lyric to the title in the opening, that's not actually how it starts on the album. It has an amazing like layered guitar tone, ripping guitar solo. I love how the song builds. It's really good songwriting from Queen in terms of like the verse, how it goes into the pre-chorus, how that goes into the chorus, how they add the vocals in the second half of the chorus. There's guitar fills that don't come in till the second verse. It's just a building song. It builds the whole time. The only thing I don't like about it is where the bridge comes in. It kind of builds and it builds, and I feel like the bridge kind of ruins that. But it's still a great song, still on my top 10 list, pretty high on the list, I think. Tie Your Mother Down, the opening track from A Day at the Races in 1976. This was a single that was released about a year after the album came out. They always played the song when they were on tour. I think it's really cool that the Freddie tribute, that Joe Elliott from Def Leppard and Slash played it. It's been done by like Foo Fighters and Jeff Beck, with both Brian May and Roger Taylor playing with them different times live. The song itself has got some interesting parts in the intro. There's like a gong, and then it sounds like a Jean-Claude Van Damme Bloodsport movie kind of going on. It sounds like a circus being played in reverse. And then you get like a very AC/DC style guitar riff with like very Kiss style vocals. Two heavier songs maybe that they've done. This is a very heavy song. And the other two heavier songs, one I already talked about and one I'm going to talk about later, they're all on the list. I love their heavy songs. Stone Cold Crazy from 1974 on Sheer Heart Attack. There was very few songs that Queen did where everybody got songwriting credits. For the most part, most of the hits had one guy, as the main songwriter, and this had all of them, which is pretty cool. It wasn't initially a single, although it was kind of a big hit for them. It was released as a promotional single years later on one of the greatest hits. It is known for really what started thrash metal. You think of like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, those kind of guys. They're said to have started from hearing, songs like this. Metallica did cover it on their Garage Inc. album. James from Metallica and Tony Iommi both played it together for the Freddie Mercury tribute, the whole genre of metal being inspired partially by this song. Bohemian Rhapsody from A Night at the Opera in 1975. This song was written by Freddie Mercury, and this song is very, very unique in that it was really the first hugely successful progressive rock song. This showed that progressive rock could be commercially successful, and it was written as initially 3 separate songs. They were added and put together, and it became a huge hit, their best song, successful in any kind of criteria you can imagine. Just a masterpiece of music. It's one of the most important songs, I think, ever in rock and roll history. It was, at the time, something that a lot of people thought was very strange. But man, what a great song. It's the name of the movie that they made about them. A lot of times in these lists, I have songs people don't expect to be number one. I don't see how you can't not expect Bohemian Rhapsody to be their number one song. It definitely is.